Park is one of Western Australia's leading family-owned and operated wineries. Over the past 20 years, the winemaking for both the Howard Park and MadFish labels have been split between the winery in Denmark and Margaret River. The flagship Cabernet Sauvignon Merlot, Riesling and Chardonnay are benchmark wines. According to owner Jeff Burch, the winemaking philosophy is simple. Premium wine can only come from excellent fruit. So Howard Park goes to wherever the fruit grows best. The winery's award-winning Margaret River Cellar Door is a must-see.
Late afternoon in Margaret River, glass of red wine, and I'm at Howard Park in front of this distinctive winery with the owner, Jeff Burch. Jeff, tell me, what brings Jeff Burch to Margaret River?
Ray, we were down here surfing. We're always very keen surfers, and coming down to Yelling Up and Three Bears, and immersed ourselves in the wine region when there was no surf. So pretty small in those days, just a few wineries, but terrific region to get involved in.
But of course, after surfing, you developed a passion for wine, didn't you?
Yes, well, I was always passionate about wine and grew up in the Adelaide Hills, and was always a wine collector and consumer, and travelled around the world looking at the wine regions, and been passionate about wine my whole life.
And of course, we've got a winery here, but you've also got one elsewhere down at Denmark, haven't you?
Oh, yes, now it's the full catastrophe. We've got the Margaret River Winery and our original winery down in Denmark, and we've got the vineyard around here, and we've got our new vineyard down in the Prongerups. So we cover the whole southwest. We've also got 60 growers, so it's a diversified grape input.
Behind us is a fairly distinctive winery with a pretty interesting story.
Well, this wasn't the original design, and it wasn't the original location. It was closer to the creek. But my wife's from Singapore and very much into feng shui, and she had the opportunity to work with a feng shui master from Beijing, who convinced her, and she convinced me, that we needed a new design, a new location. I must say, the people are very happy. The business is successful, and everyone who works there seems to be very contented, so maybe I'm a convert to feng shui.
Howard Park started in the Great Southern. Why then expand into Margaret River?
Well, we started with two wines, Riesling and Cabernet, and it became pretty evident pretty early on that the best Cabernet was coming out of Margaret River. And we needed to have a Cabernet resource in Margaret River, and we had land in Margaret River, so it was an opportunity to do that. But we're still very mindful of our roots with the Riesling, and we think the Great Southern, the Prongerups in particular, is great for the Riesling. Okay,
now I believe there's a new generation of Burches coming through, so you're really positioning Howard Park for the long term, I believe.
We're gradually moving to the next generation. I think you need to be, in a wine business, you need to think long term. Our vineyards are long term, and our commitment needs to be long term.
I'm inside the feng shui designed Howard Park Winery at Margaret River, and I'm with the guy that makes all of these wines, Tony Davis. Tony, tell us a little bit about the ranges of wines we've got here.
Okay, we've got a cross-section of everything we do. We've got our original Howard Park range, and we follow on to our single vineyard series, and then we go into our MadFish range.
MadFish, interesting name. Where did it come from?
It's the name of a bay down near Denmark on the south coast in the Great Southern, named by one of the local tribes due to a conflict of currents that caused the fish to jump out of the water.
Well, it's been a pretty successful brand and name for you guys, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been enormous. I think the first vintage was 1994, and since then, from very small beginnings, it's grown to be, I think, one of the premium recognised white wines and red wines of Western Australia.
Tony, let's look at the wines in the ranges, starting with the Howard Park Riesling.
Now, Howard Park Riesling is one of our original wines. The very first vintage was 1986. It's always been from the Great Southern, 100% Riesling. The trademark of it is the elegance and steeliness. It's high acid Riesling made to age, and unashamedly so.
The Howard Park Chardonnay, it's been one of my favourites. Tell us a little bit about that.
Chardonnay is hand-picked. It's from a vineyard in Denmark in the Great Southern. We chill the fruits, we hand sort it, we whole bunch press direct to oak without any clarifying, and it's all naturally fermented. So it's essentially the only intervention we have is picking the grapes and then bottling the wine.
So you don't do any work at all?
No, no. When Chardonnay comes in, it's pretty relaxed around the wine.
Fair enough. Well, I'll tell the boss that.
Yeah.
Okay, Howard Park Cabernet, probably the wine that Howard Park's most noted for?
Yes, this has always been a blend from Great Southern and also from Margaret River. The modern incarnation of it is about 98% Cabernet with some varying amounts of other varieties. Aged for 2 years in oak and a real icon of Cabernet in Western Australia.
Now the single vineyard range, and we've got the Leston Shiraz.
The style of the Leston Shiraz is, I guess, more elegant than the eastern states. It's more about blueberries and regional seaweed, nori roll characters, and a little bit of soy as well. There's very open knit tannins that are quite savoury on the finish, and very much a food-friendly wine that has many years ahead of it.
MadFish, very famous name. Gold Turtle range.
Now the Gold Turtle is our premium range of MadFish, based on single vineyard wines again. The Cabernet in particular is from the northern areas of Margaret River, which gives us a slightly richer style of Cabernet, which it doesn't need blending with Merlot. I think it's a complete wine in its own right. Lots of cassis and dried herb characters, dried sage, and firm but not dominant tannins.
Now the MadFish Premium White, a huge seller for you guys.
The MadFish Premium White's based on Chardonnay from around the state, particularly from the Great Southern, Margaret River and Pemberton. It's a friendly, fruit-driven style, jam-packed full of lots of melony fruit, some little bit of tropical characters, but also some citrus acidity just to add a cleansing cut on the finish. Again, another great food wine for summer.
And Sideways.
Now, Sideways, one of our newer releases. This is a range of wines entirely from Margaret River, from single vineyards, again within Margaret River. And this style is a little more complex. It's got lifted herbal Sauvignon characters about it and some lemony Semillon behind it. A little more complex from barrel fermentation as well.